Welcome to On the Table, a podcast about board games, card games, and tabletop war games. Welcome back to episode 120 of the On the Table Gaming podcast. I'm Chase from On the Table Gaming, and I'm joined by Mike Meeple and longtime friend Mark Albenesius, the OG creator of A Song of Ice and Fire Builder. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
You should not have to use A Song of Ice and Fire Builder in my name anymore. You've done a lot more than what we did.
Fair enough. Mike, great to see you back on here again.
Happy to be here, man. Happy to be here.
So, we're often talking in the On the Table Gaming Discord about A Song of Ice and Fire. Today, we get to talk about Marvel Zombies, the upcoming Kickstarter from CMON Games for Marvel Zombies, a Zombicide game that's coming out on January 18th. That's when the Kickstarter opens up. And now, Zombicide's a game I think all three of us have had some time with here. This is a really cool version in which we're seeing the combination of Marvel, that universe, and Zombicide come together. What's been your connection with Marvel Comics or the Marvel Universe and or Zombicide? Like, how has this been a touch point for either of you? Mike, why don't you start us off?
Yes. Growing up, my comic book series of choice, which I'm sure was everybody's who's about my age, was X-Men, right? X-Men was like the coolest thing. Yeah, the cartoon show on Fox. I was a Marvel guy through and through, and I still love Marvel. I've just discovered, personally, my preference swings more DC now as an adult, but I loved Marvel Universe growing up. On the last time we chatted, that Zombicide was really the first like big box style game, like heavy thematic game that I ever bought. So that is kind of what created what I've lovingly referred to with my friends as the nerdy game nights, right? Where it's like we get together and we play these nerd games, and we all love it, because it's just, we get together, we throw some dice around, and we try out new games, and we do this and we do that. And that's kind of what built, my friends getting into the tabletop gaming aspect with me was Zombicide. So it's got a really big place in my heart for that.
How about you, Mark?
On the Marvel front, I watched a lot of the cartoons as a kid, X-Men and Spider-Man and Friends, I think, with I think it was a little before me, but with Iceman and I think Firestar. And other than that, I didn't read a lot of the comics, but I am very much into Marvel now with all the movies and stuff coming out. With Zombicide, I actually have only played the core game and I played Invader, but I had a lot of fun with them. My game group doesn't play a lot of dice rolling games like that, but I enjoy them. So I'm very excited about this. I've been looking for a reason to get into Zombicide. And so I actually bought Undead or Alive thinking, man, this is the perfect theme for me. And then Marvel came out. So it looks like I got to do it again.
You can maybe somehow do like a mashup here. It's like Western Marvels. What if,
Oh, I'm not going to worry about mixing them up. I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities to do that.
Yeah, man. Same thing for me. So, as a kid, I guess, when I talk to some people who are like super into comics, sometimes people are asking on the stream, like, what's your favorite run or something like that. As a kid, I would just ride my bike down to like the corner store, and you could just go in there and buy comics. It was like a cigar shop or something, like a newsstand sort of thing. And so I just grabbed like whatever I could find. And I think growing up in the 90s, like X-Men were just the thing. I think there was like a particular hot streak for like Colossus and like Nightcrawler and some of those characters. So I always feel like when I talk about superheroes, I can always tell like how old someone might be based on like some of the comics. I think Venom was also huge, but I never really followed like a whole stretch. And I had a buddy whose dad had a bunch of old comics, but they were like disjointed. I remember what was one we liked. There was like one with like Fing Fang Foom, which is like some giant dragon. So, it was really just disjointed. But when the Marvel Cinematic Universe started coming out, I mean, those were great. I remember the X-Men movies when those came out in the 2000s. And, now I think we watch probably everything that comes out, in that universe. My wife's really into it too, so it's something that we can kind of bond over. And with Zombicide was actually that first like kind of like big box game I bought when I was getting back into the hobby, right? I'd really enjoyed tabletop wargaming, and it was one of those things that if you like minis, kind of like always keep an eye out for them. And so even when I wasn't doing the hobby, if I was in like a Barnes and Noble or something and I saw like a big box game, I'd like always like flip it over and be like, look at this. Like, that's a lot of money. And so when I was like, I want to get back to the hobby, Zombicide Black Plague was like the first big miniature game box I bought and started to paint up those minis. And it got me into buying paints again. And then I moved back onto war games. So this is kind of like a really cool moment where, something that's kind of a little bit more omnipresent in my life now, Marvel and the Zombicide franchise, Black Plague, which I really liked, having these kind of merged together. I'm kind of hyped for this. And funny thing is, like, I don't know if you guys have the experience, but like sometimes you can buy like your favorite miniature game or war game or board game and then like have nobody to play with. Has that ever happened to you? Do you have any things on your shelf?
Oh yeah.
Frequently.
Yeah. And I feel like Zombicide's a game that's so easy for people to pick up that you can just get in and have fun playing it. And it's, you know, it's a pretty easy game to get people to sit down with.
My wife's already pointed out a few of the minis that she's like, ooh, I want to paint like some of the zombies up, like, because I've been showing them to her. She's reluctantly looking at all of them as I show her like 30 pictures.
There were like, you know, two games I got my wife into that she loved. One was X-Wing, which is a fantastic game. Mm-hmm. And then the other one was Zombicide. She's like, yeah, it's simple enough to play. You can just sit down and get jumping right into. And when she saw this, that they have the Scarlet Witch mini already, she was like, all right, like that's who I'm playing. Let's do this. You know, I think we're ready to throw some money down on this game.
It's funny because, you know, my wife, you know, she doesn't game at all. She's a total muggle, right? Like,
you just gotta wait for the Harry Potter Zombicide.
Yeah, there you go. But like she doesn't game at all, but she will play games with me on occasion, and you know, she thinks that they're fun. She really likes thematic games, but she is like how you said, like she looks at for minis, because she says her whole thing is, even if the game's not great, you can still have fun just pushing these little guys around the board and, you know, pretending that they're attacking and doing that sort of a thing. You can just have that make-believe fun to it. And I think that's a huge part of Zombicide, and I think that's why it's so popular and why it's so I guess long lasting, I guess. Yeah, you know, where it's gone through all these iterations, is that there's just something about seeing all of those zombies barreling down on your people that it does elicit that thematic, like, we have no chance of surviving this, and then you do somehow, and it's amazing because you found a chainsaw, or you found, you know, the flaming sword or something like that.
I actually played Invader for the first time with my wife, and I think she enjoyed that a lot. The thing that really got her into it is it's a cooperative game. And with board games, I tend to be a little more competitive than her. And I also have an idea of the mechanics just because I play a lot more board games. So she tends to enjoy it when we play a cooperative game where we can kind of share information a little more. And she has a lot more fun that way.
That's a really good point. Yeah. And it's hard to find, like, sometimes it can be hard to find good cooperative games and that are also like in the right, like, heaviness range. This is just light enough. I'm actually interested to see some of the things they've changed. So, you know, just so everyone's on the same page here, the Kickstarter is launching on January 18th, and we've seen now a playthrough with Quackalope, and they went through as the zombies, eating bystanders, slaying shield agents, and trying to stay alive as they balance their hunger mechanic, which is a really cool new feature they've added in, where every turn your zombies' hunger increases, and you need to devour other living things to lower that amount. And as it increases, you get more offensive capability. But if it gets too high at the end of your turn, if you're maxed out on hunger, you start to take damage. So you've got to like kind of manage this resource. So you can't just kind of like hide in the corner. Now you're like always like actively hunting. And just that itself, I think, really adds a lot to how the game is played. And it's simple, but it's going to keep you moving. And with that has had to come like a lot of other changes. So, you know, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but now you don't like search for items. You are just getting your zombie traits, right? You're just like, you can spend an action to draw a zombie trait, which is like a power up you have. You're drawing on like your heroic nature. Did you guys have any initial reactions to that? Was that something that surprised you, or that you were like, I kind of like the searching part? Like when you play this game, how big of a rummaging around component do you like to have?
So I had a pretty strong reaction to that one, because that was the one thing that really bothered me, is that I really like that whole, you know, search and find a cool weapon or something. Now, that said, I understand why they did it the way they did, because it's true what they said. You know, Iron Man isn't going to use an Uzi. Like, it's just not a thing. So I will reserve judgment until I try and play it. It was nice to see it in action, because it was smoother than I expected it to be, watching the playthrough last week. So I'll reserve judgment, and I'm hoping it works out really well.
I think it's a fine mechanic. I mean, I agree with Mark that it doesn't make sense to search and find these things. You know, like when you're playing regular Zombicide, you know, you're just a regular person, but in this, you're superheroes, right? Like,
Hulk want frying pan.
Yeah, like Hulk doesn't need a can of beans, right? Like,
Hulk get hungry sometime. Come on.
Hungriest there is, right?
You could just put a weight on each item, and then Hulk can throw it, and it'll do different damage.
There you go.
Oh.
But I get it, because the search component was such a huge part of the gameplay, they had to replace it with something, right? So I think that it being more of like I'm reaching down in, and the way I see it just thematically is it's more of like, it's those moments in the movies where the hero is buried underneath a bunch of rubble and the bad guy's standing over it and they're saying something like, oh, I'm gonna kill your girlfriend, and then they dig down deep and they somehow are able to break free. This is just the zombie version of that.
Yes, but only one action to do so, and then
Yes.
And then the cool thing is, on the flip side, that was revealed in that awesome trailer they had, is that's going to be the X-Men version, which is going to be a standalone game you can get, a standalone box that you can just buy and play. And in that version, you're playing as the superheroes against zombie hordes. And in that, instead of a hunger mechanic, they have a power mechanic. So it sounds like, these two kind of parallel modes where you're still trying to go around and either devour or rescue bystanders, but you've got either hunger or power. I think there's a lot of cool design space to play around there. So I'm excited to kind of see more of that. We haven't seen any gameplay of that yet, but I know that's something that's coming down the line. We are really fortunate actually to get invited to play with Quackalope on that.
Oh, cool.
So, hopefully we'll have more information about that.
Yeah, that was my biggest ask, or not my biggest. That was one of the few things I really wanted. I'll tell you, one thing I was really hoping would happen during the Kickstarter was, one, a hero mode, and two, and I'm still hoping this happens, I really hope that for each character we get a stretch goal that's the flip side of the coin. So we have the zombie Captain America. I really hope we see the hero Captain America. You know what I mean? So I know they said that they don't have to stick exactly to the comics.
Right.
So I really hope they take advantage of that and say, okay, well, we have this one. We're going to give you the flip side so you can really play however you want. If they do that, I'll just throw money at it until they're done. Like,
how important is it to you to have them stick to the comics or not, though?
Not at all. I think as long as at least for me, I think as long as the general feeling is there, embellish all you want.
I remember there was a comment Michael Chanel was making about like how in the comics, it's like Colonel America. And, they were like, well, we're calling him Captain America because like that's the recognition. People are going to sit down and be like, what is this game? Like, who is that? Colonel America? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. So Steve's still out there somewhere, right? He can be good,
Yeah.
Right? Because Colonel's out there. Yeah. So Captain's not in trouble.
At this point, initially, I picked up the Marvel Zombie comics and I started reading through them, and they're great and they're a lot of fun. And then I saw this gameplay trailer, and I mean, like, as soon as I get this, I'm going to be making my own stories, right? Like, you're sitting down and suddenly, Spider-Man swings in, and I feel like as long as the characters feel like the generic concepts of the characters, like Hulk has to be able to smash, things like that. Captain America's got to be our stalwart, defender here. I think that's probably good enough for me.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Zombicide comics, I guess spoilers for people who haven't read almost 20-year-old comics. I mean, the only one that's still alive, like the only real hero, is Black Panther, and again, spoilers, he's not doing so hot in the comics, and Magneto, right? Like, those are like, by the time we discover the Marvel Zombies universe, it's Magneto saving a bunch of people and trying to keep humanity alive. The irony is wonderful in that story. It's like, you can't just have one character, so they don't need to stick very closely to the story at all to me. The concept of Marvel Zombies, the concept of our favorite superheroes are now ravenous monsters. I think that's enough for me.
In hero mode, I'm already planning on Marty McFly and two of the three amigos from Undead or Alive coming in and saving the day. So you do whatever you want. I'm going to have a great time with this.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
That they're avenging that third amigo that got eaten already.
That third amigo who didn't make it into the Kickstarter.
Oh man. The other thing is, like, obviously this is a game that the theme can kind of fit right into, right? The Zombicide and Marvel Zombies, it just goes so hand in hand. But a lot of people come to it not just for the theme, but for the miniatures themselves, right? And so we have these really awesome sculpts we've been seeing. And there's a lot of other Marvel properties out there, a lot of other Marvel games that also have sculpts, miniatures, game pieces, all of those things. What are you thinking? Like, first look at these. Obviously, we've only seen really the renders. And there were some pictures on display from, I think, San Diego Comic-Con. I think a lot of times those are those early resin prototypes that they get super early. And I know that plastic can sometimes have a slight variation in look, but it's, roughly the same. What have you been thinking about the sculpts you've seen so far?
I think the renders look fantastic. I think I love what they've done with the bases.
Yes.
And it reminds me of what they did with the Marvel United pawns, because all of those minis look fantastic, and they have those the textured bases already on there. So I think that's really, really great. I would love to get my hands on one of those Thors from San Diego Comic-Con, because I think that's going to really be the proof in the pudding,
Yes.
to see how well it transfers from render to resin to plastic. But this is CMON, they've got a really good track record of that transfer being pretty high quality.
Well, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have a ton of CMON games that I have a ton of fun with, and I love the rule sets, but they also are known for it's plastic crack. It's very good. Like, those minis always turn out very good. I have a ton of, Arcadia quests. I've got Zombicide coming. I've got Hate. Like, I love the stuff that they do.
We all played Marvel Crisis Protocol as well,
Yes.
which is a larger scale, miniature war game. One thing about those, for some reason, and I can't really put my finger on it, but maybe Mark is, maybe Mark or Mike, as a painter perhaps. So a lot of times the scenic bases on those miniatures, there's something off. Like, there can be ones where I'm I don't know why, but I'm not really liking the rock. But these CMON ones, I'm looking at and I don't know, they look fantastic. I'm kind of all about it. I'm normally I'm flat base. Now I'm this is great. More of this, please.
Well, it's because I'll tell you what it is with Marvel Crisis Protocol. It's because all of their bases are just like a sidewalk, right? So all of the bases are just a generic sidewalk, and then a guy standing on a rock, or a generic sidewalk, and then there's a pillar somehow sticking out of this sidewalk, and then they're on it. And what CMON has done with both Marvel United and with this game, it looks like they've kind of taken a picture and like a cutout, like a conical cutout of, or a cylindrical cutout of the area that superhero would be on. It's not necessarily a sidewalk. It's not it could be the side of a wall. It could be some jagged rocks. It could be a wrecked car. They just take this little bit of a circular cutout of that, and then put the mini on that, which just looks better. It looks more realistic.
There's a lot of little details on there too. I just paused at 109 on their official trailer, and it's Captain America, zombie Captain America, and on the floor beneath his legs is what looks like Winter Soldier's arm. Yeah, his arm right there. It's oh my god,
dude! I saw that. The one that I saw was the Dark Phoenix one. The picture of Dark Phoenix
skulls.
The skulls, and there's full-on skeletons surrounded by fire. And
I like Iceman.
Oh yes. Yeah, that looks really cool.
They did a very good job of making someone who looks like Ice into a zombie.
So. Yeah,
dude, Iceman is legit my favorite X-Man. Okay, legitimately, he is my favorite X-Men character.
Why is that? Because I feel that used to be one of my favorites too, and I was trying to think back to the movies, and I'm was he that great in the movies? He wasn't that great in the movies. No. And I was why did I like him so much?
In the comics, he's great, because in the comics, first of all, he's let me push up my nerd
Omega,
glasses. Yeah.
Please help us out here.
He's an Omega level mutant, all right?
He's over there affecting every particle, yeah.
Yeah, which means that he can he doesn't just control the temperature around him, he controls the temperature of every single particle in existence, right?
Yeah, the whole thing is he can freeze everything if he needed to.
He freezes things down to the atomic level. He slows down the electrons that are surrounding each atom, sort of a thing. It's crazy. So he's just really cool. And as a kid,
he is really cool. You're right. Sorry.
Where's Fabio for a fun that?
Everything derails. My bad. Keep going.
You need Fabio, and then you need Michael to give you a look.
That's true. Exactly. It's a slippery slope here. Let's keep going.
But growing up, he was I subscribed to Uncanny X-Men, and he was one of the main characters in that. And they really made him be the young wisecracking, smart alecky kind of a character. And, as a kid, that's who you gravitated towards, was the Spider-Man like character that's making the jokes and fighting and being the hero and all of that sort of a thing. And that's kind of his role in the X-Men.
Man, and there's, I feel like we're jumping all over the place, but there's so much room with this Kickstarter. With a lot of the other Zombicide properties, you'll have like kind of characters that are pop culture references. There's probably not going to be any of that here, right? Because there's so many Marvel characters that you can fill in.
I doubt it. I doubt we're going to see Bernie Sanders and mittens.
Although that would be super.
Well, and the thing is, like, a lot of what they add with the alternate names, like, for example, Marty McFly is Calvin in Undead or Alive. A lot of that is all based on, like, pop culture and things like that and popular characters from that theme. The thing is, with Marvel, you have so many characters that are already part of the culture and are already very popular. So you have so much to pull from.
Were any of you kind of surprised at what looks like it's going to be in the base sets? Like the base zombie hero version is like Hulk, Iron Man, Deadpool, Wasp, Captain America, Captain Marvel as like the main zombies that they're featuring there. I thought that was like kind of an interesting or somewhat like eclectic mix. Maybe there's something I'm just not seeing, but I was like, oh, like interesting, like throwing Deadpool in there, Wasp, Captain Marvel. I don't know. I'm assuming we're going to have like a lot of stretch goals. Are there any characters that are like, must haves that you like, I 100% want to see this in the Kickstarter?
Well, in the recent video, they fulfilled my wish and Juggernaut's there, but I do hope we have a hero version of him as well, because I want to see him run through some zombies.
Oh, yeah. And I'm assuming for each of these, we'll have a zombie or a hero counterpart. That would make sense.
Well, I did see him fighting Colossus, so it looks like, at least on the box, it's regular Colossus and zombie Juggernaut, but I wouldn't mind seeing both of each. So
does that like automatically then like cut the stretch goals in half, technically? Not really, but like, so it's like, you have Hulk and zombie Hulk, Captain America, zombie Captain America.
To some extent, but I also think, and I know they plan a lot of these stretch goals out long before the campaign runs, but and so those gaps aren't set. They get bigger or smaller depending on how well they're doing. But I really think with this IP, plus the fact that it's Zombicide, it's going to be massive, like huge. On top of that, they're also offering a large figure. In Death May Die, it was $250 for that large figure plus the base game. I'm betting we have an all-in here of like $500, and Undead or Alive for like $300. So you're going to see a lot of big numbers, I think.
You think $500? I'm trying to think of how much are you setting aside.
I'm betting on $500 all in.
So I've got the Undead or Alive all in right now. What up right now? It was $240. Okay, so that was.
Don't forget the horses. I forgot the horses.
You got to
send me those.
I got the horses.
I want to see the buddy cop western show with you guys on it riding along.
Send me the
zombies.
horses.
Did you get the horse? No, you were getting the horses. Like, I'm getting too old for this.
So I'm looking at this, and okay, so $240 for Undead or Alive was the base game, and then the two small box expansions, along with the two big box expansions, along with three small box expansions. Okay, so I mean, and that was $240. What we're getting is two full base games and that large Galactus figure already. I'm guessing that that they're going to have some form of discounted pledge for just that without any potential expansions, small box expansions. That's probably going to be about $250, $275 somewhere around there.
$300 on that. If it's the mini and two base games,
I think you're pretty close. I think you're closer than you are off. I don't know that it'll be exactly $300. It might be like $275. I could hope so.
Are you really going to get Galactus though?
Yes.
Oh heck no. No.
Yes.
I like how you're both so quick. All right, wait.
It's a centerpiece for my table. My wife loves
Mark,
it.
what do you walk us through the thought process, Mark?
It's huge. It's Galactus. And you know what doesn't help me here is that it's bigger than Cthulhu, and they have one at the local mini market here because I live in St. Louis, and they have that mini market shop, they have one painted in there, and it's amazing. And every time I walk past it, I think I want that. So now I'll just get Galactus, and it'll be bigger.
Yeah, I always thought that was like a thing that like stores got or something, like, or like, your local comic shop. And I was like, do regular people really get this? And not that you're a regular person, Mark. You are obviously one of a kind here, and I don't know if I actually have the space. Mike, what do you think? And you're saying no?
Saying no. I'm saying I say this now, right?
Some of us can be wrong.
We
sometimes.
need a painting. I thought we were going to get a painting tutorial. What's going on? Yeah.
Oh Lord!
I will send you mine to paint, and you can send it back.
Hey, there's a plan.
Well, I can't wait for that's what the $500 is for all that shipping. Is that
yeah, right?
Basically?
I just can't see, because here's the thing. I can't see having it just take up so much space. I'm really big on like board game organization and making sure that things fit in one or two boxes, right? So it drives me nuts when I get a board game, and then as soon as I put all of the models together or I take everything out and whatnot, I can't fit it all back into the same freaking box, right?
Yeah.
Or I get one box and then a million of these teeny tiny little expansions. I hate that. It drives me nuts.
So I'm huge on organization as well, but like, even for like Arcadia Quest, for example, it came with 4 giant dragons, and they weren't, they were not this size, but they're big. I still bought the insert that fit the 4 dragons more efficiently. So I'm not going to lie. If someone like Go7 Gaming, who I tend to buy most of my inserts from, made some kind of Galactus insert that said, we'll put the cards in here with it, I'd probably buy it. I have a problem.
It's just like an add-on for your house.
I have a problem.
It's just like a additional shed. You're like, just put them in here. There were some jokes being made in the On the Table Gaming Discord about like those old My Buddy videos for the like My Buddy. Maybe I'm dating myself there, but
I like to talk about using them as lawn gnomes, as they said in the stream.
I think that's the way. Like I bring them around like that. You just bring them to meet people. Hey, how you doing? Like, hi, I'm Mark, and this is Galactus. How you doing?
That was one of my big questions. Was Cthulhu is limited? So I'm glad to hear that this one is not.
Yeah.
Why do you need more than one of them?
No.
The yard gnomes. That's how he shows people he's serious.
Cthulhu had a limited number available to everyone across the whole Kickstarter, and they had to keep adding more. I'm not saying I need more than one, but I don't have to be on right away and fight for it.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. I was like, why do you need 3? Why?
I mean, there's so much stuff to be excited for just in general for this campaign as well. Are there any things that you're nervous about or hesitant about?
I'm 100% nervous about the price.
Yeah.
I'm going to be completely honest with you, because I am like Mark. Mark had brought up wanting the alternate heroes, right? And the swap version of the heroes / zombies, right? And I can see them doing that, where it's like the stretch goal for the zombie box is the zombie version of this, and then the stretch goal for the hero box is that alternate hero version, right? But I can also see them just making that another expansion that you have to pay for.
Yeah. Are you going to pass up certain things and be like, I don't need, Captain America, or I don't need like Bucky Barnes or something like.
Well, that kind of reminds me, and when I think about that, it kind of reminds me what they did with Masmora, which was kind of an offshoot of Arcadia Quest. They basically released a card pack, which this is a lot different than card pack, that said, okay, now you can use all most of your Arcadia Quest people in Masmora and vice versa. So I would buy it, unfortunately. I would spend the money on it. And
they did mention on stream that if you buy the Zombie Heroes box set, that game can be played on its own, but it has cards that let the characters be used in the hero mode that you can buy, the superhero mode that is the X-Men box game.
As the Abomination equivalent. Yeah.
It sounds like there's a little bit of crossover there. So you're not like, if you are just going to go with one, I just look at this one of the games where it's like there are some more minor characters, but like when you sit down, you want people to come to the table and get excited about superheroes and want to play this with you. Like I suddenly start being like, well, I can't just not get that person. Like I know I'm not the biggest Doctor Strange fan, but like you're going to tell me I want to play Marvel Zombies without getting a Doctor Strange miniature? Like, no, I got to have him at the table. Like, someone's going to want to play him.
Unfortunately, I have already resigned myself. I know Mike was talking about he's worried about the cost. I have resigned myself to knowing that I'm going to spend way more than I need to on this. I've already sold off some other Kickstarters to make space.
So jettisoning things already, just getting ready.
Yeah. So I'm ready to go.
What about some of the cards we've seen so far? So, for example, they've shown a sample of Iron Man. Now, obviously, this is a game that's still under development. All of these things are subject to change. But it's got the card laid out with the health at the top, the hunger meter on the side. He's got a missile wave attack which is like a 0-1 range, 3 dice, 4+ to hit. And then he's got his abilities listed. And his abilities are like Repulsor Blast, where, once he shoots, he can then push the units in that zone into an adjacent zone. Got evasive maneuvers that allow him to perform a move action immediately after completing an attack. So he can do like kind of some hit and run stuff. And then finally, at his red level, his max level, he's got a suit auto control. When you're Ravenous, like you can still do things. You don't lose like total control. Those are all locked in. There's not a lot of choice, right? That is just what you get. Do you think having the characters tied more to theme like that is ultimately a good thing or a bad thing when maybe it comes to replayability or just your level of enjoyment at the table with them?
I was going to say, I think as somebody who's played just about every other version of Zombicide out there, I think it's a good thing. I think it's 100% a good thing. Do you want to know how many heroes I've played with in other Zombicides with Kickstarters? Like 3, right? Because eventually you start to see the same combination of things. So there's only it's only so different that each survivor can kind of be, right? But with this, having them have very flavorful abilities, like in all other Zombicides, it's like, okay, so this character's got this, and this out of this list, this glossary of shared abilities in the back of the game, right? Anybody can have any combination of these shared abilities. But in this, no one else is going to have any of the powers of Iron Man. No one else is going to have any of the powers of Captain America, or potentially, you know what I mean? Like, no one's going to play that way. You can't necessarily get them to be shaped exactly that way, sort of a thing. So I actually think it's a very good thing.
So I don't mind it being kind of on its own kind of train track where it's like you get this, and this. That said, I don't think it would hurt to have a couple options for each level. I don't know how you would do that though, because you're going to run out of abilities eventually, and I'd rather see more heroes than I'd rather see more heroes and less variability per hero than having like way less heroes.
That's a good point.
On top of that, the other thing I want to say about Iron Man now that we're looking at him is I see a Hulkbuster helmet and I really want a Hulkbuster version. That's all.
Oh, okay. So do you think that the things, so like, I don't know, is it like, I'm making assumptions here, but like, I assume I saw Captain America had the Winter Soldier arm. I'm like, there's got to have a Winter Soldier, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think the things on the stands are like indicators that there will be those things? Like now I've got to go back and look at some of the minis, but a Hulkbuster has a Hulkbuster helmet there. I wonder.
I don't think necessarily there will be those, but I would be very surprised if they don't have a Winter Soldier. They're going to have a lot of heroes.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at the Deadpool figure, right? Because Deadpool is holding Hydra Bob's head, right? But Hydra Bob is in the game. So I think, unless I'm wrong, right?
No, he's a bystander.
Yeah, no, he is.
He's a bystander,
we saw
right?
A bystander card.
And so unless they're doing something funky with that, so I would imagine that they're going to have Winter Soldier. I would imagine that Hulkbuster is going to be a small expansion that you can buy separately.
Man, I mean, God, there's so much potential here. Who do you put in? I wonder how they make that call. Like, do you just go off of the comics? Do you go like the MCU has really put things on its head? There are characters that are fan favorites maybe now that maybe didn't always have such a big following. I also wonder, like, what are some of the characters that are maybe more out on the fringes, or maybe not so much? What are some big ones that aren't in like necessarily the mainstream media right now?
Oh, I think that like Daredevil. I think that Daredevil is going to be a really solid entry into the game that doesn't get a lot of play right now. That kind of suite of characters, the Netflix Defenders, Daredevil,
Daredevil,
Punisher, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, Elektra. I think
Iron Fist.
That character is a great character.
Sure. I only know him from the show, and out of all those shows, that was the one where I was kind of like, like I guess I can maybe skip some of these episodes.
Yeah. Anyway,
that's another episode another time. So what we're saying is, when they're like, our stretch goals revealed and it's Iron Fist, then everyone's like, great, thanks.
But, I think that goes along with those kinds of characters, right? I think that there's enough of those characters that are kind of on the side, these tertiary characters that are popular to kind of maybe quote unquote hardcore Marvel fans that are going to get a lot of play here. The ones that I think we're going to not get a ton of are these tertiary X-Men characters.
Well, there's so many. There's just so many of them.
There's so many. You're not going to get, we'll probably get like Havoc, right? Like X-Men's brother or Cyclops' brother.
Even that you're getting on the fringes, I think, because they've got so many other groups to do between Avengers, Fantastic Four, Spider-Verse. They've got a ton of stuff they can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Does that pose its own problem? Or like with the Master of the Universe Kickstarter, they covered essentially the whole original toy line with the exception of like 2 or 3 characters. And to be fair, like some of those were what was it, like Jitsu? There were some ones that were like kind of maybe more problematic characters.
They were racist characters.
Yeah, right. And you're like, we don't need to have that one, right? And it's like, but they basically covered everything else. That's not a possibility here. I wonder what are going to be ones that people are going to be like, how could you leave that out? I'd really like to see a Venom. Now that I'm thinking about it, like that would be awesome.
Yeah,
you're going to see a Venom.
You're going to see a Venom. You're probably going to see a Miles. You'll probably see Gwen. They'll hit the big Spider-Verse characters.
Probably Carnage.
Well, how does that work? So what was the whole thing with like the Spider-Man movies? Not to get too off track here, but like this is from Marvel Entertainment, right? So does like licensing for characters in movies or things like that affect us in any way? Like, is Miles Morales a Sony thing, or like not a Sony thing, but like how does merchandising for that work?
A good way to look at this is go look at Marvel United and see what's there.
Marvel United. So
oh yeah. Good point.
Yeah, which is also CMON and Spin Masters.
Oh man, there's so much options here then.
Films is very different from, board game.
Oh man, I'm just thinking back some of the Marvel United stuff. Yeah, good lord. Also, we saw Magneto here, which I think you could classify like as a villain. Juggernaut. I'm wondering, like, are we going to see a lot more villain characters? Because right now it's kind of low on that.
I honestly don't know with that one. That one's tricky because even in the Marvel Zombies comic, right, they don't take front and center. They're not the characters that we kind of hear a lot about,
right?
Except for in like Marvel Zombies 3 when you see like Kingpin and he's got all of his zombie people working for him still, sort of a thing. I would say that that it's probably going to be more like a pick your 1 or 2 favorite folks from the major franchises, and that's who you'll probably get, right? Like we'll probably get like a Red Skull.
Well, here's a question then. I saw Michael at the end of the last live stream had the Infinity Gauntlet. He put a gem in there.
Exactly. Thanos.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Also, by the way, so, for the Master of the Universe, they started like dressing up as characters, which is hilarious. Michael had the gauntlet. Nobody else had anything in this last live stream. Don't we all agree that Fabio Curry needs to become Director Curry and just get an eye patch and go for the whole like Nick Fury thing?
I would say he's more of a Peter Parker character than he is like Chanel is Thanos, right? He loves that he's kind of evil. But he's the hero in his own story, sort of a thing. But I feel like Fabio's just kind of like happy to be there and enjoying the ride.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Oh, so we'll see if he hears this. If drop a line in the comments below, Fabio, if you hear this, and we'll see what you think about that. I don't know, Mark, any ideas for how they should be costuming up? So yeah, I think, we gotta, if you're out there listening, we got to encourage them to, I think, go the costume routes. It's fun. I love the little twist it brings. It's always exciting. After Fabio did the headless Ned Stark for the Song of Ice and Fire live stream, I'm like, let's just see where this goes.
I want to see Fabio dressed up in as Spider-Man. That's my thing now. I can't wait for the next one in the Spider-Man like mask and everything.
We could do that, like maybe Magneto. You could put the helmet on. I don't know. No, that's maybe too dark for him.
Thor wings.
The Thor wings. There we go. Yes. That would be fantastic. So, I mean, there's a lot of fun stuff coming for this. And man, everything I've seen so far, the art, the tiles look fantastic. I was actually trying to find out more about who made those tiles. And I think it's the same guy who did a lot of the Song of Ice and Fire art, a lot of the Bloodborne and Mass of the Universe tiles, Henning Ludvigsen. So that's something I want to find out more about as well. But I'm just excited to see what comes out further for this game. Oh man, and I just, the thing that stinks about Kickstarter is it's just like it's so far away. I know the 18th is like 10 days out
but then
from now.
It's 30 days from that.
And yeah, and then it's just like, oh gosh, it's gonna be a while to get everything delivered, and I guess I have to be patient.
No, it'll be.
But this is the one I'm genuinely looking forward to.
I think we're gonna see a lot of good stuff. I think just watching the Quackalope playthrough gave us so much information.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big things that I was really interested in was how that hunger mechanic worked specifically, right? And we really got a good idea of that, in that particular playthrough. I will say the thing that I was most interested in is in that playthrough, they were only playing with 4 players. And in classic Zombicide, you essentially always need to play with 6 survivors, right? It says it's a 1 through 6 player game, but it says that if you're playing 3 people, everybody needs to play as 2 survivors. So they were able to play and win with only 4. So it makes me wonder if this one has actual scaling for not just 6 players, because none of the other Zombicide games really have any kind of game scaling for less than 6 survivors.
Michael Chanel did mention that on one of the live streams about
difficulty scaling,
having being a difficult scaling. I think he was saying it was more balanced for 4 players. And I don't remember what it was said about how that gets more difficult or less difficult, depending on adding more or less. That might be something we could follow up with and try and find out in the future. More specifics about.
I don't see why you wouldn't scale it naturally for like 4 players and then just make it harder for 6, because 4 just seems like a more natural number.
Yeah.
It was always a pain when I would play like Black Plague, because I would only have like 4 friends. So it'd be like, all right, well, I guess I'll play as 2 people, and then you play as 2 people, and then everybody else plays as 1 person,
Well, Mike, I'm sorry to hear that, considering 2 of us are right here. I hope your other 2 friends are doing well, and we can get you some more so you can play some 6-player games here. I'm just kidding.
It's so true.
No, I'm sorry. Oh gosh. For the one thing I've actually, this is kind of a weird thing, but backing Master of the Universe was like an entirely selfish purchase, where it's like a property that I'm into. And I realized it's going to be like, it's a great game. It's a lot of fun, but it's like not one that's going to be able to necessarily bring people who aren't as into He-Man, like into play with me. And I'm excited about this game is because it is cooperative. It's not like a Song of Ice and Fire where it's like, you got to have a somewhat larger investment, still small for wargaming, but a little bit more investment. There's a lot to study and learn. So there's a little bit of an onboarding process. But for this game, like I can get it. And it's like, it's a hugely popular IP. It's a quite simple but fun game to play. And for me, it's just like that the allure of getting a game that I can play with other people and have a lot of fun with. This like is checking all the boxes. So I'm really excited, and I can't wait for these next few days here to see what gets rolled out. As we wrap things up here, any last predictions or wishes, things you'd like to see in the Kickstarter?
If any of the developers are listening, please make a regular hero and zombie for each character. I will pay for it. Many others will too.
Who are you specifically looking for? You got some
like I said, I want to see
here.
both sides of Juggernaut and Colossus. Those are the big ones. I really like Carnage too. I'd like to see Carnage.
Oh man, yeah. Some of the sort of spider foes, that would be great. Mike, how about you?
I would legitimately, I would love to see the Fantastic Four represented in some way. I think that they are often forgotten about in the greater Marvel picture, but they literally started Marvel Zombies, right? So I think they have to be present somewhere. I would also love to see Ash from the Evil Dead because he does appear in Marvel Zombies in one of the comic runs. It's Ash versus Marvel Zombies, and it's hilarious and it's great. So that is like my dream, is that there's going to be like a guest artist box or something that's going to be Ash.
I think Zombicide has never wanted for scenarios, but I'm hoping to see some like really cool theme scenarios scenarios. I think that like a lot of the storytelling can already happen just by having like named bystanders. And, when, Aunt May gets eaten by Spider-Man or things like that, like these kind of narrative elements already like built in. But I'd love some other like kind of scaffolding to go through and maybe tell a larger story and have some adventures that way. I'm also just honestly, I'm looking forward to seeing what we got in its completion. And then I know it's the sort of thing where like fans are just going to make their own fan content and iterations off as well. So I think, you just get the right tools. The sky's the limit. Like I'm excited to see the first person to figure out, can we do zombies and heroes and superheroes together? Can I have like somebody playing with the hunger mechanic and someone playing with the power mechanic and that be okay? Like, how does that work then? Do you like rescue a bystander or do you eat the bystander? How do you make the decisions? Like, can we mix and match?
Maybe the heroes just become a little less heroic and pass on some criminals to the zombies.
Oh, geez, that sounds horrible. Seeing someone eaten alive. Yeah, that's probably not right. That's when you'd have like some, Magneto or some people with a different worldview, right? We could be playing.
I don't think Punisher would mind.
But
what do you guys think is going to be? How many minis do you think we're going to get in the stretch goal wise?
Well, so I actually bought Black Plague retail. I haven't actually kickstarted a Zombicide game. Like I've always gotten it afterwards. So what's the normal count here? You're going to get a lot of stretch goals. What did like for Undead or Alive? How many minis came in that?
It was like between stretch goals, add-ons, and stuff. It was like 210, 215 or something.
My gosh.
Now that does include a lot of different walkers, things like that.
Yeah.
I think survivors, we had about 50 survivors just for the base pledge. And then I'm looking at it right now. It looks like there was about 8 or 9 extra survivors for the steampunk expansion as well.
19 total, yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's a lot. So I mean, and the fact that this is going to be 2 full standalone boxes, I wouldn't be surprised if we got legitimately 100 minis that were just from stretch goals. Not 100 for each base game, but maybe like 50 for each.
Stretch goal wise, I could see that.
You think this game's going to blow up Kickstarter?
Yeah, I think this is going to be one of their bigger Kickstarters, if not their biggest.
Yeah, I think.
I think Undead or Alive was what, 3?
Yeah,
3 million?
well, I think the Marvel United games were their most. I think I was reading an article about that. Let me see. Let me look it up.
Marvel United X-Men was 5 million.
5 million.
Marvel United was just shy of 6 million. It was 5,988,89. Like that's a lot.
That's insanity.
That's a lot of people.
That's insane.
I think this will top it.
Yeah, man. Look at some of the heroes they got here too. I wonder what sort of overlap.
Yeah, I could see this. I could see this hitting 6.5, 7.
Wow, that would be insane. Well, I got to do my part. I'm going to get my plastic. So chip in on that. Man, maybe not a Galactus.
You always need a 3-foot statue.
Well, if you're listening in, let us know in the comments below what heroes you're hoping to see, with some fan favorites from your childhood. And then, Mike, when this comes out, will we see some painting tutorials?
Yes, you will.
Absolutely.
I sound pained with saying that because I know I'm going to. I know.
Well, you've also done some painted tutorials for other superheroes that we can find on your YouTube channel and your blog, right? If we check out Mike Meeple. So some of those things would transfer over, you think?
Yeah, absolutely. So like certain things I probably won't do, like a Black Widow one, or some of the stuff that's already on there, because I mean if once you painted Spider-Man Peter Parker once, there's not enough that's different about this one that's going to make me think, oh well, I need to approach it from a whole different idea. But certain things where it's like I look at it and I'm like, oh well, like Hulk, the zombie Hulk might be a little different because his coloring's a little different. He's got those chunks out of him. Zombie Iron Man. Some I guess. Okay, let me say it this way. I guess the zombie characters really make me want to do tutorials.
A little more weathering.
Yeah. Wait a second.
Yeah. Before we go though, I have to say, I watching the stream, the latest stream, I have to commend I think is Tiago, because the choice to make the zombies in the X-Men box multiple man is possibly the smartest game design choice I've ever seen in my life. Like as soon as I realized what was happening, I thought, "Oh my god, that's brilliant! That's absolutely brilliant, and it's perfect."
Yeah, you can tell there's a lot of fandom in this, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, but just a lot of fun as well. Oh, I love it! I'm so excited for this. Oh man! All right, now, like I said, we got about 10 days, then we'll find out more about the Kickstarter, and then it's in like the daily cycle of like, here's what got unlocked, here's this new cool thing, and then the wait. So I'm gonna buckle up and get ready for all of that. So be sure to check out Mike Meeple's painting blog and painting YouTube channel. Search up Mike Meeple, and also check out him out for all A Song of Ice and Fire paint tutorials. I know he's been a longtime supporter of that community as well. And Mark, it's always great to catch up with you here. We got to touch base, maybe as this is going along, this campaign, and see how people are feeling or things we're excited about seeing revealed. And we'll stay in touch as this goes on.
Mike also has some excellent crisis protocol guides, and I've used Venom, Iron Man, a couple of them, and they're really good.
And with that said, we're going to wrap things up. So thanks for listening in. And in the meantime, we hope you get your miniatures on the table.